Hello, everybody. This is the Colonial Outcasts podcast, and we are back to normal operations. Pretend like a rad intro music is playing right now because that is coming down the pipeline, along with a spin-off show and much, much more. I'm not trying to sound like a local band right now on a Tuesday night, posting big things coming soon on Facebook, but they are. So my name is Greg Stoker. I'm a former U.S. Army Ranger turned anti-imperialist activist and journalist, and I'm finally rejoining our beloved co-host, Mark Wayne, here on the podcast, here to knock off the cobwebs and get right back into it. How you doing?
I'm doing great, bro. Hey, audience, do you notice that ever since Greg was kidnapped by the Israelis, he's different?
What are you talking about? I haven't even been...
Bro, something's off. Folks, something's off about him.
I literally
what
haven't been online.
No, let's talk. Hey, I heard you've been gardening. You've been gardening lately.
Yeah, maybe I can switch over to my cell phone, show you the garden beds I'd made. It was a whole idyllic lifestyle. I unplugged for a couple weeks, and I thought we were gonna have to restart today and do an episode. And I was really bummed about having to get back to work and be a functioning member of our amazing society again. But then I heard the great news, and I got more excited about that prospect because Dick Cheney bought the farm.
Yeah, you called me up this morning, or I called you, and then first thing you said was, "Dude, Dick Cheney's in a box." But I didn't hear that. I heard you cut out. I heard Dick box, and then I thought you were asking me to do that, and I was like, I mean, I guess it's not the worst thing in the world. And then you clarified that Dick Cheney was dead, and I'm like, oh, that's what all these posts were about.
Hey, yeah, I mean, this is show business, man. But it is time to get stuck back in though, because the U.S. empire is on one right now, absolutely on one right now. We got Venezuela, we got Nigeria, we got Mexico, Palestine, letting our comprador state, the UAE, do whatever it wants, the Sudan, while whitewashing its image with Dubai chocolates, which are now at every local gas station in the United States. There's one 2 blocks away from my new place, just Dubai chocolates everywhere. So yeah, how you feeling about everything?
It's I think I see another media blackout with Gaza. It's hard for me to see what's happening there.
Yeah.
And then I'm actually optimistic that people in the Palestine movement are connecting the suffering in Sudan and the Congo with Gaza. I'm glad that I'm seeing Americans, right-wingers, actually talk about Sudan and the Congo more. So I'm getting some really positive indicators from the public. The policy sector is a whole different story, but I am seeing some great direction.
Yeah, and these are new conflicts. I hate to call them conflicts, but we're going to do that for right now. These are new conflicts to a lot of people. And it's going to be harder to draw a parallel between our U.S. tax dollars, funding genocide in Palestine to, what's happening in Sudan. It's not going to be too, but there is a history behind there, and then we're going to have to get into UAE and their penchant and their yen for employing Eric Prince, former founder of Blackwater, to siphon Colombian mercenaries trained by Washington to Dubai, then to become part of the Desert Wolves Company, then to advise and fight alongside the Rapid Support Forces and the Janjaweed militias in Sudan. But yeah, it's going to be a whole thing. But I think tentatively we have an episode on that on Thursday. Am I correct?
Yes, with Malumbo.
Okay, cool. So we're going to table that for a second and then get back to it Thursday. But something, again, and this is the subject of this episode, poetic happened last night. And of course, it's, avowed war criminal and all around POS, Dick Cheney finally died. And he's dead, which is tight. And while he died far too old and far too free, it couldn't have come at a more symbolic time to be an indictment of this great American civilization. Not only did millions die so his Halliburton stock portfolio could go up during the global war on terror, but on the eve of the Trump administration trying desperately to manufacture a regime change war in Venezuela over irrational ideology and resources, oil, big surprise, the American people have clearly learned nothing. Well, that might be a little unfair, but it's just kind of frustrating because there's no significant social or cultural pushback, really. The neoliberal media is doing shit lib journalism by remaining objective and ethical and both sidesing it because they don't really oppose it. And neither does the Democratic Party. Iraq, Afghanistan were bipartisan wars. Dick Cheney was not an outlier to U.S. imperialism or imperium and capitalism. All right. People like him and Kissinger are America. They are egregious. And because they are egregious, they allow politicians and donors a decade later to either disavow them, whitewash their legacy, and thereby their own legacies, all the while pretending like they didn't support him to the hilt back in the day. Americans across the political spectrum, almost universally accept, right, that Iraq was an ill-advised, strictly for-profit war, and Cheney was the primary architect along with his cabal of neocon douchebags. So it's instructive that the Kamala Harris campaign last year kept bragging about Dick Cheney's endorsement. It was deeply obscene. Dick Cheney was a depraved war criminal whose image should not be rehabilitated. But Harris is also, a Zionist who supports Israel's ongoing and unceasing genocidal campaign in Gaza. And, all the enlightened liberals were able to overlook that because deep down, everybody knows, this is not the only reason I just wanted to say this, that Dick Cheney is America and America is Dick Cheney. This is what we are from a U.S. foreign policy war stance footing. And if you even speak that idea aloud, you could lose your safety, your friend group, your social standing, your financial security, and access to political power, right? Remember that as the Nobel Peace Prize was just given to Maria Corina Machado in order to whitewash her calls to Netanyahu and Trump to devastate her people in a Libya operation in order to install her into power so that she can sell off her country to Western capital. Because, again, America is Dick Cheney, and it is Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and Donald Rumsfeld and Genocide Joe and Henry Kissinger and Donald Trump. All right. From a certain philosophical point of view, I kind of posit the question, in what way is Dick Cheney dead? He's gone, but we're doing the same things, having clearly learned nothing. The public, the consent for a Marine amphib invasion into Venezuela is not there. All right, but we're still entertaining these kind of adventurous wars, even though we know they don't turn out well at all. And it just seems like, in what way is Cheney dead?
I would say that Cheney's on steroids in spirit for sure, especially given the profit margins of the past 2 years. I'm curious about how that compares with the profit margins during the Iraq War and Afghanistan War. They're going to be going up there. The profit margins with the war in Ukraine, what's that looking like in comparison? So, and then of course we talk about the war being brought home with ICE, $160 billion expansion, even more, I believe. And then of course, Core Civic and Geo Group getting their contracts, which by the way, was also bipartisan. They thrived under the Obama administration.
Just for context, Core Civic and Geo Group are the prison corporations behind ICE.
Absolutely. They thrived under Obama. Obama, in fact, kind of opened the door for this new industry in many ways, using detainees as a profit, a profit ticker on the stock market in some ways. So it's very bipartisan. My biggest frustration is when I hear Democrats complaining about Trump doing what he's doing so viscerally, as opposed to Obama and Biden doing it very covertly. And that's in a nutshell, the fallacy of liberalism. Liberalism is fine with atrocities. They're fine with mass imprisonment, separating families, innocent people getting bombed in foreign countries. They're okay with that as long as the optics are liberal, as long as it's not as overt and in your face. Very few of us knew about Obama's mass massacres of people overseas with his drone program stateside.
Yeah, wedding convoys, probably Al Qaeda, just because some 23-year-old CIA analyst, says it is.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. but the bombs had to drop because the profit had to keep coming from this new. I mean, Obama really, he was the pioneer of the drone warfare. Like everything we're seeing in Gaza, everything we're seeing in Ukraine, this new industry, this new gamified form of war, was essentially pioneered by Obama. So all the horrors that we're seeing now was the that the Democrats laid the foundation for that, and amnesia.
Yeah, and again, I don't think for people just coming into this side of the political spectrum, you'll hear things like Democrats and Republicans are two sides of the same imperial bird, and I think that's kind of reductive in some ways. Democrats are way better at like talking good and speaking good. Like, Obama, more covert warfare, absolutely atrocious. But he had good deportment, as the Victorian novelists would say. He could comport himself very well.
Very statesmanlike, very statesman, very elegant.
Yeah. Whereas you'd have Dick Cheney do this.
So many wars, Afghanistan.
This was a 2018 interview, and I couldn't find good footage of it because not a lot exists. But he's being asked, what was your favorite war?
Iraq 1 and Iraq 2. Which was your favorite war and why?
Okay, well, first of all, Where the Peace posted this earlier today because they found it, and they have the theme song from The Omen playing in the background.
Well, I think it was what we did at Desert Storm. I really do. I never thought of it as having a favorite war.
Of course, but you got to enjoy it too. And
yeah, sure, I love being Secretary of Defense, especially in wartime, especially during Desert Storm.
It's fun.
We had the capacity, I deployed 500,000 men and women.
What do you think Iraq would have been like if you didn't liberate it? Would it have been a breeding ground for terrorists and unstable?
I think it would have been, yes.
How you started so many.
Yeah, so look, he also said a lot of egregious stuff like, waterboarding's not torture and, it's all legal, just like Obama said, when the WikiLeaks broke it, he said, we tortured some folks, but of course, Obama was way more debonair, but it was the same policy, and it always has been. And during the last year's election campaign, one of Trump's major sources of appeal has always been the vague impression that he's anti-war. His record in office makes nonsense of that reputation, of course, as does everything he advocates for now. But Harris could have gone around the country pointing out that Trump is the president who doubled the rate of Obama's drone strikes and tore up Obama's detente with Iran and the Iran nuclear deal and the JCPOA. Instead, she trumpeted the support of Dick Cheney at every opportunity because every Republican that abandons Trump is instantly an ally. And of course, she got up in the DNC and said, we will have the most lethal military on the planet, because that's just who we are, right? And any Republican that abandons Trump is a potential ally. Doesn't matter how problematic they are. That was completely mismanaged. That campaign was insane. Looks like she might be doing a 2028 election bid though, and maybe if she's super lucky, she can get endorsed by the chain rattling, shrieking ghost of Henry Kissinger. I think that would really put her ahead.
Yeah, I want to go back to what you were saying about the Nobel Peace Prize for a second. So much, Machado, she was awarded the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize for her tireless work promoting democracy, which just goes to show that the Nobel Institute is simply a cultural tool for empire to manipulate public perception on international politics to pave the way for future exploitive maneuvers. Case in point was Henry Kissinger, 1973, awarded it. Obama was awarded the 2009 Peace Prize for his extraordinary efforts to strengthen international diplomacy and cooperation between peoples while bombing thousands of innocent people through drone strikes. So it's the word of the day, or at least the term of the day, is I would call moral laundering. So moral laundering is a term used to describe the process of cleansing or legitimizing unethical, violent, or exploitive actions through symbolic or moral gestures, such as awards, charity work, diplomacy, or selective narratives that create, an appearance of virtue or righteousness. So that is kind of like you were saying. I think Cheney's death is an ironic time, especially in the beating of the war drums for Venezuela. But the good news is it's like more and more galvanizing people on both sides that, you know, everything that we've been going through the past 2 years, it's leading up to the elites and the ruling class. Like, I think what the Trump administration was hoping for, they were hoping to kind of shift the momentum behind all this xenophobia that he had helped garnish up, and then kind of direct that at Venezuela to beat up their war drums, right? But because of what happened in the past 2 years with Gaza and more people on the right going full on anti-Israel, they are now directing that xenophobia more towards Zionist influence. So that's the shift that I'm seeing happen that was not anticipated by the Trump administration. He was hoping to have a solid galvanized base on the right because they had been prepping the public mind through podcasts and all kinds of things, fear mongering that we're getting invaded by the narco terrorist, you know, shoving fentanyl up here, and that it's a conspiracy between the Chinese and Venezuela to corrupt, you know, to deteriorate the American public from the inside through drug addiction. But now, as thanks to the hard work of the pro-Palestine movement, revealing the connections with Zionist influence and Israeli infiltration, that xenophobia that the Trump administration was hoping to direct at Venezuela is now being directed completely at the Zionist. And we are seeing the fracture desperately on the right, especially with Zionism trying to keep this assimilation with right-wing politics with Zionism. They're trying to keep it attached at the hip, just like they were trying to keep Judaism and Zionism attached at the hip. But it's falling apart. I don't know if you saw Mark Levine's crash out at the Republican Jewish Coalition speech. You see that shit?
What did he say again?
It was fucking insane. He was out of his fucking mind the way he was talking. I'll try to share the screen, but let me find it. Here it is. Sure. Okay, let's play it.
Oh, I have a clip from the
These aren't personality
from the Republican Jewish Convention, as well as Lindsey Graham saying we're killing all the right people. All right, continue.
The issues. We're talking about liberty versus tyranny, good versus evil, right versus wrong, democracy versus terrorism, Western Enlightenment versus 7th century barbarians, the greatest generation versus the Third Reich, Chamberlain versus Hitler, Reagan versus Stalin.
All right, so check this part out.
Around American patriotism.
This is hilarious. This is white supremacy versus Zionist white supremacy. It's fucking hilarious.
You don't get to wrap your psychotic, mental, unhinged, Nazi, Klan, jihadist bullshit around American patriotism.
All right, so right now, he's
You don't
responding
get
to
to claim.
He's responding to Tucker Carlson and like Nick Fuentes,
Yeah.
like banding together to fight other people on the right over Israeli loyalties.
This is hilarious. I love this shit. I eat this shit up.
You're MAGA and America first when you're lining up with the Marxists and the Islamists and Hamas and the terrorists.
The Marxists, the Islamists, the Hamas, and the terrorists. So he's basically telling people on the right, you can't be allying with these Marxists in this anti-Israel coalition. And
That's not America first. That's sick.
Anyways, it goes on. It's great stuff. I encourage everybody to watch it. It was a very cathartic experience to watch him crash out like that, and him just look so old and out of touch. Out of touch. So out of touch. And he's out of touch with the right. He's out of touch with everybody. And to see the desperation, God, it's like better than coffee in the morning.
Right.
You know?
And there is one thing, like you touched on it, he's so out of touch because they're freaking old. And one by one, like Dick Cheney, they're dying off. I mean, we still have other people like Lindsey Graham who also spoke at the Republican Jewish Convention. And it just goes to show you that, again, my original premise that Dick Cheney never was an outlier. He was, as the USA Today just published an article saying, Dick Cheney, powerful VP who pushed Iraq invasion, dies at 84. They're kind of like laundering his reputation by not calling him like a war criminal. They're just being like, he was the most powerful VP in American history. And the second to shoot somebody in the face, wait, who was that? Who was the other vice president who like shot somebody?
Oh, shot him it was a hunting trip, right?
Yeah, no, okay. Dick Cheney was shot.
Was it pheasant hunting or something, right?
Yeah, pheasant hunting
in Texas.
Yeah, okay, yeah. It was him and Aaron Burr back in the day.
Do you think that was a little do you think that was like a warning when he shot that person in the face? Like they pissed him off and they shot him and said,
but yeah, it was a long time Republican lawyer and major donor. And Dick Cheney said it was the worst day of his life. So sad. But anyways, yeah, Aaron Burr was the other dude who shot somebody. But anyways,
goddamn rich hunting trips, man. Never go hunting with rich people, guys. Just a warning.
I know they have so many agendas. Okay, but just to go to show you, like he was more powerful than Lindsey Graham could ever be. But of course, they pushed the same stuff. This was also unhinged from the RJC.
Recognize Jerusalem as capital of Israel. Why? Because if you got a problem with that, take it up with God. He's the guy that did it, not Trump. So I just want to say, I feel good about the Republican Party. I feel good about where we're going as a nation. We're killing all the right people and we're cutting your taxes.
I mean, that's probably true for everyone that's going to attend the Republican Jewish Convention. Yes.
Trump is my favorite president. We've run out of bombs. We didn't run out of bombs in World War II. So, as a coalition of Republicans, some Baptist, some Jewish, we organize ourselves around principles that we love and we cherish. We love individual freedom. We love entrepreneurship. We love capitalism. We love Israel.
And that is perfect because it just goes to show you that Democrats, establishment Democrats, also love entrepreneurship and individualism and capitalism too. It's kind of crazy why they don't actually put up a fight when it comes to like Israel or an impending war against the socialist Venezuela. And look, you don't have to like Maduro. I don't know anyone who's like a huge Maduro fan. But yeah, it just like that is it. That's why they don't fight Cheney. That's why they can take their endorsements because again, they love individualism. They love entrepreneurship, like privatizing another country's resources, and they love capitalism.
Did you see some of the influencers who were paid by the Democratic Party during Kamala's run and how they were trying to like these media influencers that normally are very kind of like revolutionary in their content suddenly were just overnight.
I would say progressive
maybe, but some that were very good at delivering progressive messaging overnight. All of a sudden they're at the the National Democratic National convention, and they're bragging about how Dick Cheney's daughter is there promoting Kamala Harris. And I'm like, are you saying that unironically? Or is that
they were?
And I'm like, that's insane. And it was the comment section was priceless. It's like, don't know if that's a flex.
Well, because it's not about accountability or morality or even changing the system, because it's not. It's about beating Republicans so you can win culture war issues, which you don't even do because somehow Roe v. Wade never got codified. I'm not calling that a culture war issue, but like that's how it was framed.
It's the hot button negotiation chip on the table. Like that was the poker chip that the Democrats are holding on to as legitimate as keeping its legitimacy, because that's the only thing that they really were significantly like fighting for was the abortion rights, And that's why they let it slip into the Republicans and being overturned, because now it gave them legitimacy. It's like, oh, you're going to need us now, because
Right.
nobody needed the Democrats, that was the only issue that they were able to dangle in front of us, be like, well, the Republicans overturned it. If you want to switch it back, then you're going to have to get us back in office. So sick game.
So good. And I don't think that anybody learned anything. I wish I had that.
Dude, you've been in the garden a long time, bro. How were those flowers? What did you plant, dude? I want to know what you planted.
All right. Well, maybe we can pull up StreamYard or something, but on my phone, and we can walk out at the end of the episode. But I built 2 raised garden beds. One's all lettuce. I'm trying to do more salads, so that's going to take like over a month to grow. I mean, the seeds are still germinating, and I did root vegetables because it's the winter.
Like potatoes, sweet potatoes.
No, I like beets, radishes,
Dwight Schrute, beets,
carrots.
Yeah. I tried to do all that in my little patch outside. It didn't work out that well.
Did you just plant it in the ground?
I did. I threw a bunch of random seeds. I just waited to see what grew.
Yeah.
But yeah. No, I grew a few things. I got some good squash out of it. Good squash.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, I figured, as the apocalypse impends, we should try to like work on that.
Yes.
So, anyways, but I did want to touch on nobody learned anything. In a recent interview with Jon Stewart, Harris got on and basically was saying the same old messaging. She's clearly going to do another 2028 bid, and. Yeah, when Steve Bannon gets on with the editor of The Economist and says we're going to have a third term, Trump's going to have a third term. If that's his main opposition is Harris and Newsom, and again, wouldn't change the foreign policy of the U.S.
No.
It wouldn't. So yeah, again, is Cheney dead? No, because his spirit lives on, embodied by the United States government. And it might be instructive if we just kind of take a couple minutes just to really remember who this guy was. So he was born in 1941 on November 3rd. He died on November 3rd. Sorry, he was born on January 30th, 1941. Someone in the comments section, can you let us know what Dick Cheney's zodiac sign was and if that played a role? And
Jesus Christ.
So he was an American politician and businessman. Yes, former CEO of Halliburton, who served as the 46th Vice President of the United States, commonly known as the most powerful one in history, from the entire Bush administration until 2009. He was often called, the most powerful in history, and he previously served as the White House Chief of Staff for Gerald Ford, the U.S. Representative for Wyoming's at-large congressional district, and as the 17th United States Secretary of Defense in the administration of President George W. Bush Sr., George Bush's father. He was also considered by many, he was pretty much to be the architect of the Iraq War. So, yeah, I mean, he was the White House Chief of Staff in the 70s. He was the minority whip for the House of Reps in 1989. He was SecDef during Desert Storm, which we recently heard him saying he loved it. He deployed 500,000 men. He also oversaw Operation Just Cause in 1989. And, he was out of office during the Clinton administration when he was chairman and CEO of Halliburton from 1995 to 2000. And in July 2000, he was chosen by presumptive presidential nominee George W. Bush as his running mate in the 2000 election. And they defeated their opponents, Al Gore and Senator Joe Lieberman. And, in 2004, Cheney was reelected to his second term as vice president with Bush as president. Then they were defeating John Kerry and John Edwards. Dude, I don't even remember who John Edwards really was. But during Cheney's tenure as vice president, he played a leading behind-the-scenes role in the administration's response to September 11th attacks and the coordination of the global war on terrorism. He was an early proponent of invading Iraq again. And completely ginned up the weapons of mass destruction and Saddam's relationship with Al Qaeda. However, neither allegation has ever been substantiated. He also pressured the CIA to provide intelligence consistent with the administration's rationales for invading Iraq. And of course, he did a bunch of stuff. He loved wiretapping by the NSA and for his endorsement of the U.S. Enhanced Interrogation Torture Program. And then, as he got older, he did things like real neo-lib things, like endorse same-sex marriage in 2009. But yeah, he was, even though like when he left Halliburton, it was put into trust, but he was, in order to not have any conflicts of interest, but he was still bringing in over $8 million a year.
Yeah. So it's KBR now, but then it was Halliburton. He also received a 2006 DHS contingency contract up to $385 million to build temporary immigration detention facilities under Bush before Obama surged in family detention. So Halliburton,
Halliburton is a multinational corporation. One of its biggest sectors is oil, but it's also a defense and construction contractor.
Mm-hmm. So they thrived under Obama and they thrived under Biden. KBR, that is. It was Halliburton. They had to change the name. It's like, you notice how what did Blackwater change into?
It went into Z.
Yeah. So
and then from Z to Academy.
Yeah. So all these companies that got some really bad names out of the Iraq War had to change their name. But that's it. That's it in a nutshell.
Just like sometimes, after a bad Republican presidency, you got to change the name to Democrat.
Yeah. Yeah, but it works. It works, because if you tell somebody who's not too much in the know or thinks that everything that all the techniques and all the war profiteering was only done during the Iraq War, and they kind of keep it in that era. When you tell them about Halliburton, they're like, "Oh, well, Halliburton's not around anymore," or Blackwater's not around anymore, and it works. It works for a lot of people. Just change the name.
Yeah, but also like. Does it even matter if the president's Democrat? Because that no longer happens under that. Or at least I get to pretend like it doesn't happen under that. And then I can get so outraged when, they continue to expand the national security and war state and police state, which are all the same state, for profit. Then you get outraged and you pretend like Democrats are going to save you, but they enabled it the whole time.
Like Gavin Newsom supplying biometric data to ICE here in California, while at the same time going on podcasts and saying it's just heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to see these ICE officers rip families apart while he's giving the biometric data to ICE. I mean, he could stop what ICE is doing in California in a day. He can just tell law enforcement don't cooperate. In fact, work against them somehow. And there's so many levers he could pull to stop it, but he's not doing a damn thing.
No, but instead he's just going to have his 20-something-year-old Hispanic intern post like spicy anti-Trump memes on Twitter. Like that is resistance, people.
That's resistance. Just have a nice sarcastic war with Trump, some clapbacks. That's all you got to do. It's insane, man. But it works. It freaking works, man. And yeah. I think it's so interesting to watch people fall to like how vulnerable they get in the face of fear. So you got Trump, this very visceral, cartoonish monster who's pushing these state thugs who are kidnapping human beings in such a provocative way that slaps you across the face with fear. And so that fear then makes you emotionally vulnerable, and then you'll accept you're so desperate that you will accept somebody who simply, even if they're not doing anything to change policy or actually doing anything that has consequences, to see somebody post a meme war against Trump it's enough. It's enough to comfort your feelings of fear, and therefore you run to that person as your messiah, as your savior. So it's interesting to see that aspect of human nature being exploited so effectively in the United States, Yeah. But yeah. So, what do you think about Venezuela supposedly catching CIA agents on
Okay,
the beach?
look.
Yeah.
I've been gardening. Okay. You know what I kind of thought about? You know these corny like 80s action movies
Yeah.
where like this like retired friggin' ex like Black Ops dude is just like up in the woods in a cabin with his like German Shepherd, and he's just like chopping wood, and then the helicopter lands, and they're like, "We need you
We
back."
need you to come back. He's like,
Yeah,
I'm not good.
I
I'm not
haven't
going
received the
back.
brief yet, man. So how about you? And I'm sure I'm not the only one.
I should have walked in your garden. I'm like, Greg,
Yeah,
forget the tomatoes. Because
yeah,
needs
okay.
you.
They're not in season, Mark. Okay, but anyways, yeah, I missed the story. I pretty much missed everything. Tell me.
All right. So Cliff Notes.
First of all, I'd like to preempt this with like I don't trust Maduro as far as I can throw him, but let's go.
All right. So I'm just gonna give you the Cliff Notes. Because I'm doing this off of memory, but supposedly the Maduro's police, they intercepted a CIA plot in which 3 CIA agents in Venezuela were going to kill Venezuelan soldiers, put on their uniform, commandeer heavy guns on the beach, and sink a U.S. ship.
Or at least fire on one. I'd say like
Fire
Gulf
on
of
one, but I guess
Tonkin, Gulf of Tonkin 2.0, baby.
fire on one, who knows? But supposedly the goal was to sink one to then offer the emotional ammunition that the Trump administration needs to manufacture consent for a war with Venezuela.
And it might not even be a war. It might just be like consent to give the green light to start hitting land targets.
Yeah.
Also,
I will say that this was from like the New York Post and Newsweek were the ones that posted this. Yeah.
Okay. Just to kind of play through it, say these 3 CIA agents did seize a gun position. It would have to be artillery. They'd have to dial it in. They could very well just miss. I mean, what's the response time? There has to be guards in the perimeter. Usually big guns have a lot of security around them. How would they escape? Like, how would they get extracted?
Question. That's the part that's insane to me. It would have had to have been a very elaborate plot that involved an escape route. So Venezuela claimed to capture a mercenary group linked to the Central Intelligence Agency on Sunday and accused them of aiming to spark a military conflict with the South American country. A false flag attack is underway in waters bordering Trinidad and Tobago, or from Trinidadian or Venezuelan territory, to generate a full military confrontation with our country. And that's Maduro who said that. No. That's Vice President Rodriguez. Rodriguez claimed the mercenary group was captured with direct information of the American Intelligence Agency, CIA. Venezuelan official did not provide any evidence or substantive to substantiate her wild claims, including the number of people captured, where they were from, what was found on them, and what they're allegedly plotting. So the White House did not respond.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all,
that went viral. That story went viral. Yeah.
Well, just circling back to our subject. Too bad Dick Cheney is not around to say they have yellow cake anymore.
If you don't know, yellow cake is reference to unprocessed uranium from Africa
that Saddam was apparently gathering.
And this is at a time where Americans were so ignorant that they didn't realize the very expensive process in which to turn yellow cake into usable uranium for a nuclear bomb.
They still don't know.
It's an insane task if you don't know.
They still don't know because, like, apparently they're like Iran is, Netanyahu's been saying it every year to Congress since like the 90s. Iran's 6 months away from a nuclear bomb. And people are still like, Iran's
That's
6
the
months
thing
away
that just
from a nuclear bomb.
it's been 6 months away for the past fucking 20 years.
Bro,
Like,
it's only
I don't understand.
it's
Like, this is
only because time is an illusion and time is a flat
construct.
circle. Yeah.
It is. It's a construct. I think you and I are looking at this all wrong. They are 6 months away from building a nuclear bomb. It's just, what is 6 months really?
What's the number 6?
So yeah, is it really 6 ones, or is it 6 something else, 6 tens of ones? We don't know. But it's God, it's this circle that we keep going in. But look, yeah, it's ridiculous. Okay, manufacturing consent for war we're all aware of it, but it's not working anymore. It's not working anymore. It's officially dead. The only people who buy into it are, again, your establishment liberals and your neocons, your old neocons, your neocons that sit with their bag of Cheetos or whatever their I don't know, their pumpkin spice lattes and watch Fox News and Newsmax, and they eat it up. But those people I don't really care about them. Like, they're not gonna have any consequence on how things turn out in the future. So
yeah, I get it, but like, not to be pedantic, but how many neocons are sitting and watching Newsmax with PSLs? Probably more than you'd think. They just don't tell anybody about it. So, but it's like the neocons, the neolibs are, bound by individualism, entrepreneurship, and capitalism. And that's why they all are kind of in tacit agreement about this Venezuela stuff. Like, do I think that they want a ground invasion? No, I don't think that's tenable at all. But we do have this Monroe Doctrine 2.0 going on. And they want U.S. imperial influence to dominate the entire Central and South of America. And, that works out. They topple a government that challenges, U.S. imperial interest. That's cool, too. But also, it doesn't necessarily work, because of our history and our engagement in the region. What actually solidifies a president's power in Latin America? Like U.S. sanctions, U.S. involvement. People are rallying around the flag in Venezuela right now. People are joining these militias, which are not like competently trained at all, but they're people with guns, and there's a hell of a lot of them, more than 4,000 Marines. So, like, what are we actually doing here? Are you bringing up Maria
Machado's interview?
Machado's thing? This is insane.
Did you see the Bloomberg? Did you see the Bloomberg interview with Machado?
Is that what you're about to play?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hang on. I just want to say that, like, rest in piss, Dick Cheney. You probably watched this before your black heart stopped beating and loved it.
No, this was definitely from overexertion of the cardiovascular system during an insane boner when he was watching the CIA plant. So Machado, like, they gave her the Nobel Prize, and that's very strategic. When you want to manufacture sentiments for a crisis that you want to exploit for the sake of imperial purposes.
What did you call it? Something laundering? Moral laundering?
This is moral laundering. So Machado, part of me wants, like, she just looks terrified in this interview. I know something about the way she's saying things. She's like, I feel like a CIA agent is standing right over him, like, you better convince him. So the way she gives this interview is so.
Dude, she doesn't need the CIA. Okay, real quick, just want to say she doesn't need the CIA threatening her or tempting her. She has wanted power in Venezuela absolutely since she was, a young staffer. So let's just go.
An orderly transition, which is what we want, which is what we fought for. Michelle, I ask you to understand what we, the Venezuelan people, have done. We've got over 35 rigged elections. We finally demonstrated we
Let
won.
me try to find a good
A
spot.
country living in extreme poverty.
Absolutely. And so we will stop this suffering.
So
We will.
the poverty in Venezuela is because of sanctions. And so she even used a class war rhetoric to try and manufacture consent for imperialism, which we have to be aware of as well. That's going to be a tactic that's going to be used. They will adopt our language of class war to say, hey, look, they're living in poverty. It's because of Maduro's dictatorship. Completely ignoring the fact that
it's because of his rampant communist and socialist cronyism.
yeah, it's not the sanctions. Absolutely not. It's not the heavy, unbearable sanctions over the past decades. So I unfortunately was not able to get a lot of these clips clipped up. Like, so this is, I'm just going off the
Child
YouTube.
prostitution. This is
Oh
horrible.
Yeah. So she uses
on boats in the Caribbean,
so she
Here we
asked
go.
about the boats that were blown up.
described as being strikes on drug cartels. What is your position on the deaths that have happened in that way?
Look, Michelle, as I was saying, for years, we were, asking the world to understand the degree of the threat and this devastation the Maduro regime was building in Venezuela. I mean, Venezuela has been turned into the safe haven for the activities of all criminal international networks, from the drug cartels to the Colombian guerrilla, to those groups that smuggle gold and destroy communities of our indigenous people and the ecology, to networks that smuggle arms and even human trafficking and child prostitution. This is horrible what we're living. Russian agents, Iranian agents freely operating in Venezuela, Hezbollah and Hamas being located in our country. And as any criminal structure works, the moment you start, weakening them and they falling apart is when you cut the sources of their and the inflows of their criminal activities. And we have asked for years, the international community, to cut these sources that come.
Okay, so enough of that shit. Shut the fuck up. I mean,
Okay,
like
yeah.
everything, like every accusation is confession. It's what the irony behind this this whole thing is that the people behind Epstein's child trafficking network are the same people putting her up to saying these words. She used all the buzzwords, all the emotional buzzwords: child
Hamas.
trafficking, narco terrorism. Oh, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Russians. What else? Just throw some more stuff in there. Throw some more stuff in
Hey,
there. Terrorists.
China didn't get a call out, man. What the hell?
The far left LGBTQ community is in there. just throw in all the buzzwords.
Yeah.
Trigger
Okay.
people.
Yeah. Trans athletes. Let's go. Come on.
They have trans athletes in Venezuela. You gotta throw in these words, because one of those words is gonna trigger some old dude watching this on Fox News or watching this interview. But it's desperation. I love it. I gotta tell you, man, I love it when I see these guys.
As much as I'm happy Dick Cheney's dead, at least when he was doing that, he didn't bother with a human rights violation. He didn't bother caring. He didn't bother caring about the Geneva Convention. Like this is what he did. One sec.
That's what I love about blatant fascists, is that they strip the mask off.
Yeah. Here we go. But this was it. He didn't talk about Saddam gassing the Kurds, or or his insane son Uday doing whatever the hell he wanted to do. This is it.
Simply stated, there is no doubt that Saddam Hussein now has weapons of mass destruction. There is no doubt that he is amassing them to use against our friends, against our allies, and against us. And there is no doubt that his aggressive regional ambitions will lead him into future confrontations with his neighbors, confrontations that will involve both the weapons he has today and the ones he will continue to develop with his oil wealth.
Yeah, because God forbid he did anything against Israel. But But, that was a different time. We were attacked in a way that we haven't been attacked in a long time. So they're trying to gin up this kind of like post 9/11 hysteria. It's like there's a terror attack. Kash Patel, the worst director of the FBI probably in history. I mean,
as you put it, the perpetually perplexed owl.
Yeah, he looks like a perpetually perplexed owl. Destined for Valhalla. So
that was nuts. That was so fucking crazy. He brought up Valhalla and honoring Charlie Kirk while he's Indian. He can't make that up.
Rest easy, brother. We have the watch, and I'll see you in Valhalla. Okay, so first of all, he just said that the FBI foiled a terrorist plot, on All Hallows Eve on Halloween. Zero details.
I didn't hear about this one.
Oh yeah, it's a whole thing. And you won't hear any more details because it's absolutely absurd. They were doing like basically standardized FBI stuff, like infiltrating a chat room and then charging a bunch of like brown people with like terrorist conspiracy when it's just a bunch of like 16 to 18-year-olds playing like video games and talking shit. So yeah, I mean that's where we're at right now. I just don't see people buying it. And that's why we're under attack. This is like Al Qaeda 2.0. This is the global war on terror 2.0. It's evolving. And now we need Venezuela.
It's now narco terrorism. It's narco terrorism.
Which is connected to Islamic terrorism because Hezbollah and Hamas are in Venezuela. God damn it.
It's
cool.
not working though. It's not working. That's the good news. Like, that's why I love seeing this shit. I love seeing them get so desperate with propaganda. Like they're fishing, like they're throwing out the line and they're like, come on, one of these fish got to bite this freaking propaganda worm. Like one of these buzzwords has to work. And then when they do that, they just look pathetic. And then even the right abandons it. Even the right is like, yeah, no, like we thought you were going to be different from Obama and George Bush.
This kind of reminds me of like our early 20s. We were still in the military. Everybody was just so isolated and lonely and desperate that some of the guys would use what was called the shotgun technique, which was like hit on everybody at the bar, like maybe end up with someone.
Swipe right
swipe right. Yeah, maybe not your first choice, but whatever.
It is. That's exactly what it is.
This is like the shotgun technique with foreign policy. Shoot at everything. Maybe it resonates with someone, and they'll be like, "Okay, take me home and go to war." I just maybe in a way, Dick Cheney is dead because it's like the end of the era where we just can just invade everybody.
Well, yeah, maybe it's the end of like putting any real good strategy into your propaganda, like just I say, fuck it. Let's just throw some words out there and maybe we'll get a few people in the United States on board with it and fuck it. Those people we'll use them as our base. We don't need the full support of the American people. We're at a point now where our technology is so advanced that it's okay if the American people don't want to. We have Palantir. Anybody who disagrees with us, we have them all tracked. So that could be it. They're just so confident with their technology and their ability to control the population that even if we disagree with what they're doing, so what? What are we gonna do about it? As long as it didn't turn into a violent resistance or revolution, they're okay. As the Democrats will keep placating the American, liberals and tell them, hey, look,
blocking any left wing.
A Democrat will post a mean tweet against Trump or a mean tweet against Lindsey Graham, maybe an awesome burn. And hey, that's it. That's all we need. Resistance, baby. Pushing back.
Yeah. Well, again, Cheney's dead, but he's not, because this is America. It's always like, again, just to reiterate, our system of, as Lindsey Graham said, individualism, entrepreneurship, and capitalism requires people like him. It requires people like Kissinger. It requires people, that are pretty freaking egregious to push foreign policy forward, and who's willing to take on like the legacy hits in order to get this done.
Yeah.
Cheney started office with a 68% approval rating. He left office with a 13% approval rating, and he did not give a fuck. He got his Halliburton bag, and he got his neocon wet dream done. He got to be SecDef and Desert Storm 2.0 again. And then he was still allowed to exist kind of politically in the backfield, at least enough to, shoot the
Endorse
Harris
Kamala.
campaign
Yeah.
over the moon when he endorsed them. So
Yep.
that is the lesson to be learned today. That
Yes.
a war criminal is dead.
Well, when you think about it, he's the ratchet spinning the ratchet, the ratchet effect.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, the ratchet effect is an analogy given to what the true function of the Democratic Party is. It's if the neocons are the ratchet to go this way and go in a clockwise direction, the Democrats are then there to prevent it from going backwards towards progression, towards progress in any way, shape, or form. So George W. Bush, he pushes the Patriot Act, which is one of the greatest violations of the Constitution in a long ass time. And Obama kept it in play. And then Trump kept it in play. Biden kept it in play. And now Trump is taking it to the next level.
Yeah, with the Larry Ellison and Peter Thiel's national database.
Yeah. So when you think about it, Trump is like Obama's wet dream. Like Trump is doing all the things that Obama was trying to do. Like Obama wanted a police state force like ICE. He wanted that desperately. He wanted full surveillance on all citizens. The problem is that the conspiracy right wingers were like, Obama's going to bring us into a police state, and they pushed back. And the Democrats knew that they could not bring this full circle with the right wing working class in the way, because But now it's been rebranded, and Trump rebranded it.
I don't know. I don't know if that was like Obama's goal to bring about
That's okay. Let me put it this way. That was the paranoia at the time among the right, that Obama was going to bring about a police state. Alex Jones was the driving force of that, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Now, if you look at like the stats, yeah, I mean, he expanded ICE, he expanded detention camps, he awarded contracts to Geo Group and Core Civic, which laid the foundation point for an industry that would thrive on a police state. So under a police state. So, but they couldn't get it done because they were looking at possible revolution on the right, who were gonna, it was an explosion of militias under Obama. Explosion of militias were forming under Obama, under the paranoia that we would turn to police state. So the ruling class knew, okay, well, in order to get a police state without any pushback, we just have to rebrand it. We have to make it look right wing, like a right wing police state. We have to push Trump out there, say that we need a police state to get rid of these
Marxists,
immigrants, get rid of immigrants, the radical left, whatever. So so what do? You stick guys out there like Sean Ryan to gin up this paranoia of like military age males crossing the southern border, and they're going to link up and take orders from China or some crazy bullshit. And therefore, we need an expansion of ICE, because an expansion of ICE in a police state would be the only thing saving us from a foreign invasion. And it worked. They rebranded Obama. Trump is essentially Obama rebranded. That's all it is. That's my theory anyway. That's my thesis, my hypothesis.
I mean, yeah, I think that Trump was not okay. Well, Trump definitely expanded his drone campaign and the police state, but that's just the natural progression of U.S. politics. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I was just reading some stuff about the guy who founded SWAT in L.A.
It was to defeat the Black Panthers. The SWAT was conceived of as a response to the Black Panthers, who were arming themselves and protecting their communities.
Right, but it also came through colonial tactics. You know, it was during the Vietnam War when you had the expansion of the special operations community.
Yeah.
You know, and they thought, wow, there's an insurgency going on in LA with these race riots and the Black Panthers. What we need to do, even though we were losing in Vietnam, there was this idea like, oh, these cool guys, a small group of people were really good at killing people. And like they were going to win the war. That's not how you win wars. You don't win wars by a couple of highly trained dudes who can kill a lot of people. You do it by having a vision for victory and logistics and a freaking plan, which didn't exist in Vietnam. And just like this ICE thing doesn't exist now. I mean, so it's been a progression since, you know, the inception of the police in 1829 in London, but now it's really getting up there. And the next forever war is here on our home turf. And Dick Cheney might be dead, but his spirit lives on in the American empire, which is now going full fash with its imperialism turned in on us, its own people. Cool.
I still want to know about your garden.
Okay, well, you know what? Let's do
Fuck around Friday in your garden.
Yeah, hey guys, we're on Patreon. We're gonna get that started again. We have a segment called Fuck Around Fridays, which is just completely comedic or generally so, and absolutely free form, and we just talk about whatever. So you're welcome to come and join us on that. This has been our return talking about Dick Cheney, his legacy. You know, I know Kissinger and Rumsfeld and Nixon are waiting for him in the hot place. I don't think hell would take them, so they might have to go to extra hell, which would be cool.
They'll have to go to Valhalla with Charlie Kirk before Ragnarok.
No, they'll go to hell. Hell was the hall of Loki's daughter for the dishonored dead. So hopefully they all meet in hell. It's just one L if you're going to anglicize it. So cool, guys. Well, we are back here on Colonial Outcasts. This has kind of been a re-intro episode, picking up where we left off, and Sudan on Thursdays. Kind of like, let's do a beginner's guide type thing, and we'll also talk about like action, about like what boycotts will work, like how to apply pressure, and how to educate people about this. Because on the Colonial Outcasts, we are not here just to do deep dives into subject matters. We're here for actual tangible action. So we're back, baby, and we will see you Thursday.
Peace out, fam.
Bye.